Hello and welcome to Channel 2S everybody. I'm your host Second Soundwave and we're just a little bit overdue for another episode of Gunpla News. Now thankfully we aren't as overdue as before, but this video is still coming out a couple days later than I would have liked. Most of the information we'll be talking about today was revealed literally the day after I made the last episode of Gunpla News. However, I had just the wonderful fortune of a local power blackout that day, followed up immediately by a loss of internet service. So you know, worst possible timing for something like that, but what can you do? So last time on Gunpla News, we talked all about Build Divers Re-Rise Season 2 and some of the new kits we can expect to see coming out alongside that season. This episode, though, we're talking about basically everything else. As always, though, before we get too deep into the episode, I do gotta give a quick thank you to our channel sponsor, NewType HQ. Now, NewType HQ needs no introduction at this point, so I'm not gonna even bother with one. Instead, I'm gonna talk about their NewType 2020 Bracket Challenge, a 30-minute missions-themed modeling contest. If you're not aware of 30-minute missions, it's basically Bandai's answer to Kotobukiya's frame arms line. It's got a whole bunch of generic-looking robots and then tons and tons of option parts and add-ons that you can use to customize them and mix and match parts however you like. As you can see, there are a lot of kits in the line to choose from, and if you want to pick up some 30-minute missions for yourself, maybe to enter the contest, maybe to just build for your own enjoyment, check out the link to NewType HQ at the description below, and don't forget to use code Channel2S for 10% off your first order. And if I upload this video soon enough, you might even be able to take advantage of their current weekend sale, where if you buy 3 or more 30-minute missions kits, you will get 15% off. And with that out of the way, let's get right back into the Gunpla News. So we're going to start off this video with some February box art, and February has some big and awesome kits to offer. So first up, we have the Perfect Grade Perfect Strike. We've seen quite a few pictures of this already, but this kit's just so awesome looking, I'm going to show it to you again. The box art is very perfect grade looking. In fact, interestingly enough, it actually doesn't look anything at all like a modern perfect grade box, and calls directly back to the era of Gunpla when the original Perfect Grade Strike came out. This is the most 2000s era box art I've seen on a kit in a very long time. And just for fun, here's a few pictures of the actual model itself, just to remind you how cool this kit is. Here we can see it in the Perfect Strike figuration, and I just noticed that they added these little clear blue pieces to the tips of the Ale Striker pack. I don't think that was part of the old Ale Striker pack, but I honestly don't remember, since this isn't a kit I've ever had much experience with. As you can see, this is not just the Perfect Strike. You can also build it as the Launcher Strike and the Sword Strike. So for the Seed fans out there that have been waiting far too long for the ultimate version of the Strike Gundam, here you go. It really doesn't get any better than this. But the Perfect Grade Strike is not the only big awesome kit we're getting this month, because we're also getting the Fazbear at the same time. This kit's big, it's beefy, it's detailed, it's complicated, it looks absolutely awesome. And if I hadn't just come off of the Perfect Grade Stray, I would be all over this thing. Still though, the kit does look pretty awesome, and in the new set of images we have seen that you can actually build it as a regular gray version of the Double Zeta Gundam, so you do get all the parts for that. I don't know why you'd want to do that though, because the version with all the armor just looks so much cooler. As you can see in this image, he does have a whole bunch of missile pods added under his armor. At first I thought this was some Verkoth thing, but I'm pretty sure this is also something the original full armor Double Zeta could do. So I guess that's a nice little attention to detail. So as cool as February's kits are, there's something even cooler we got to talk about, and that is the new kits that were announced. So right off the bat, we have something that I thought wasn't real. I saw the teaser image for this kit a little while ago. I didn't believe they were actually doing another kit of this mobile suit, but it turns out that yes, we are in fact getting another high-grade RX-78. This is, I believe, called the RX-78 2 Beyond Global version, and this is basically Revive RX-78 on steroids. Basically, the whole kit has been completely redesigned from the ground up. It's got a lot more detail, and as you can see by looking at this exploded view, there's a lot more going on the inside. So for those who didn't build the Gundam G40, that kit introduced some really interesting new articulation ideas. Some of them worked really well, some of them not so much, and the Gundam Global version seems to take the best of that kit and apply it to a more classic looking RX-78 design. And while this is basically the only picture we have of the kit fully assembled, we do have a whole lot of close-ups of all the different articulation features we're going to be seeing on this kit. As you can see, he has a similar shoulder design to the Build Burning Gundam, where you can kind of shrug the sides of the body forward. And not only can these parts rotate out, it appears going off this image they can lift up as well. The arm does have a mid-forearm bend, which is a little bit weird, and I'm honestly not sure what the point of that is. And in a similar theme, he also has a little bit of extra tipping action in his thigh that also seems unnecessary since there's a universal joint right above it. Here's a cutaway shot of the torso showing some of the abdominal and chest joints we're going to have to work with, and interestingly enough, this is not the only kit we're going to see this style of image for. Now, I can't exactly break down what's going on here, but if you want to take a crack at it, be my guest. And finally, we can see here this kit will have swing forward hip joints similar to a lot of master grades, and unlike even some master grades, the back skirt will move as well. Now granted, it's just lifting up as one piece, but considering that this part technically isn't really supposed to move at all, that's still pretty impressive. So I'm definitely interested in what this kit has to offer so far. I was initially not sold on this because I was still attached to the Revive RX-78, but from what we've seen of these new articulation images, I'm definitely interested again. This kit will retail for around 2,200 yen, which is roughly double the price of the original Revive kit, but if they add enough new features to the Beyond Global version, I could definitely see it justifying the price increase. Next up is a kit that probably a lot of people saw coming thanks to the Hathaway movie, and that is the high-grade Messer. Now this is a very old, obscure mobile suit that probably would have had a big fat 0% chance of getting a kit if it wasn't for that movie. So it's pretty awesome that we are actually seeing a physical representation of it. Because this is one of those mobile suits that was so obscure that you'd literally have to buy a resin kit of it if you wanted any kind of physical version of it. As you can see though, the high grade looks pretty awesome. And here's what I was talking about before where I said this wouldn't be the last time you'd see one of those cutaway shots, because they're doing it as well to show you that the Messer is also going to have some interesting articulation going on. It seems like some of the aspects of the Beyond Global Gundam are going to be mainstays in the high-grade line, which is excellent because I personally have been getting real tired of that double ball joint polycap torso design that high grades have been using for far too long. I really loved what they did with the Destiny Gundam, where they completely removed the upper joint and replaced it with a hinge, and I was hoping they'd be continuing to use that type of torso joint for a while, but it turns out that they've come up with something even better in the meantime. So while the Messer is not one of my favorite mobile suit designs, the new engineering we're seeing here alone is enough to get me excited for the future. Next up, we have a surprise kit from the SD Cross Silhouette line. This is the Phoenix Gundam. This is one of those SD Gundam original designs that I don't think ever really got a kit before, but now it has a cross silhouette, which is basically the best you can get when it comes to SDs. This is a transforming model that actually has a very cool flight mode, and since this is an SD Gundam, that probably means this is a guaranteed parts former. Still though, I always like seeing these more off-the-wall designs in the cross silhouette line, because while it is cool to get these nice big popular Gundams like the Gundam and the Freedom Gundam and the Zeta Gundam and the Unicorn, it's also really neat to see the more obscure suits get some love as well. And the nice thing about SD Gundam is basically nothing is too obscure to be off the table. Alright, next we have some color images of probably what's going to be one of the best kits of the year, Master Grade Kyrios. Now last year we got the Dynamez, I built it, I loved it. The frame was a little bit on the simple side, and judging by some of the images we have here, it seems like the same is going to apply to Kyrios as well. I've never been someone who cared too much about the detail on Master Grade frames though, so this isn't really something that would bother me. The surface level detail of this kit is more than enough to make it look amazing, and as you can see in this action shot, it's definitely going to have the functionality to back it up as well. Just like the Dynamez, I'm expecting some pretty great articulation, although some of the specialized joints that were designed for the Dynamez, like the extra torso and neck bends, I wouldn't be surprised if those got removed from this kit. But with this being a modern Master Grade, the articulation's still probably going to be pretty great. We do also have our first image of this kit in flight mode. Now the Kyrios' flight mode isn't that hard to do, so I'm not that surprised that it looks awesome. But even with this flight mode being as simple as it is, the high grade still managed to mess it up with some hip parts forming. So having a proper model of the Kyrios that actually fully transforms, that's a dream I've had for like a decade. Alright, so next we have some proper images of the high grade Infinite Justice Revive. We saw this at a convention before, or I think it was at like the Gundam Base Evolution Project display or something. So we've already seen this kit, but here's some nice proper official images of it. I think this thing looks awesome. I love the color separation, all the silver on the wings, the purple on the wings, the silver vents on his legs, the little silver bits on his feet, the green on his torso, the pink on his torso. The color separation on this thing looks beautiful. From the back, we can see a splash of yellow on the backpack, even more great color separation. 2020 seems like another year in the Bandai cycle where they decide to massively step up the articulation. They seem to do this once every 3 to 5 years, and every time they come up with some really cool new stuff that helps the line grow. And with the Infinite Justice Gundam, it seems like we're getting some swing back hip flaps, which I don't think is the most innovative thing ever, but the way it's constructed is pretty unique. And the hips will have a spreading mechanism as well to help you get some wider stances. Now, the last time I did see this type of joint was on the Master Grade Destiny Gundam, and on that kit it was one of the bigger flaws on the model. However, a lot of that did come from the legs being just too heavy to be supported by the hinges and the hips. So with this being a smaller, lighter model, I don't think that's going to be as much of an issue. The iconic Swiss Army shield of the Infinite Justice has all the functionality you'd hope for. It's got the little grappling hook claw, it's got the removable knife, it's got the beam shield, it's just got all the cool stuff. I've always been a big fan of the Master Grade Infinite Justice, although admittedly I've never built mine. It's still sitting in a box in my room. And I always kind of thought that we'd never be able to get a high grade that could touch the Master Grade, but I gotta say, this comes close. This comes really, really close. Next up, we have another great Seed Destiny suit, the Windham. Now, the Windham's a bit more hype than the Infinite Justice because the Windham's literally never gotten a kit before, so this is pretty awesome. As you can see, this is specifically the Jet Windham variant, so it does come with the Jet pack, and I believe this uses a standard Striker pack connector, meaning this is compatible with the Strike and the Impulse Gundam and all those kind of kits. Here we can see some of the wing articulation we can expect from the Jet pack. The wings can fold down, they can rotate. Now, when it comes to the color separation on the wing pack, I am a little bit dubious because there's some yellow here, there's some black trim, there's some white and black stripes on the missiles with some red on the tip, the backs of them are black, there's some white up here with some red. There's a lot of little color details going on here, and I strongly suspect that most of these will either be stickers or just flat out not present at all. Interestingly enough, this does seem to be adopting the same joint mechanism as the high-grade Leo and Maganak, which I guess makes sense for this since it is a grunt suit, but since it's such a Gundam-y looking grunt suit, I was almost expecting them to use a more traditional construction method. Still though, if you're someone who likes to army build your grunt suits, this will make it a lot faster to knock out a whole bunch of these kits in a row. Finally, for tonight, we have the Gundam Hello Kitty crossover. This is actually something I was going to talk about at the end of the last episode of Gunpla News, but it was getting too long, so I had to cut it for time. Now, we heard about this crossover a while ago, and in the time since then we did get to see what it actually is. So there was a cross silhouette Hello Kitty Gundam crossover product that was advertised as being around 2,000 yen, which at the time seemed really, really expensive, but now that we've actually seen pictures of it, it's a little more understandable because basically you're getting two kits. So as you can see, we got the RX-78 right here. Now, I don't think this is the actual cross silhouette version because as you can see, there are some serious stickers going on. Basically, everything that's not blue on his torso and everything that's not white on his waist is stickers, which is a little disappointing, especially considering that I believe this is technically a part of the cross silhouette line. But then we have our cute little Hello Kitty, which is probably going to be the centerpiece of this set anyways. She looks adorable. And then finally, there is an option to combine the two kits together, so we get the Hello Kitty Gundam. It's kind of silly, it's kind of dumb, but for the collectors out there that like to delve into the weirder side of Gundam, this might be a fun kit to try out. Also related to the Hello Kitty Gundam promotional crossover is the Hello Kitty Haro. Because this is based off the existing Haro mold, I'm expecting this to just have a metric crap ton of stickers. Because remember, not only are there a lot of stickers on this kit, but literally every single one of them is going to have to go over a curved surface. This thing is just going to look like absolute garbage in hand. So finally, before we close off this video, here's a couple kits that I almost forgot to include because they were quite recently revealed. First up, we have the real grade Tallgeese TV colors. Now this is something really cool that we kind of probably should have gotten with the Master Grade, but we're getting it with the real grade now, and that's just fine since we have quite a few TV version high grade kits to work with. This is a paint job I've seen a lot of different people do on their Master Grade before, so it's pretty cool to see Bandai acknowledge it with an official kit. I've always preferred the TV colors for the Tallgeese. The contrast between the dark gray and the white just works so much better for me than that really kind of drab light gray they use for the base model. And I'm sure for many fans of Gundam Wing out there, this is the definitive version of the Tallgeese. Now unfortunately it is P Bandai, but with it being a straight recolor, what else could you expect? Also, P Bandai is the high-grade Geminass. Now, we've seen pictures of this before, but now we have some proper official images of it. This is apparently their new Advance of Zeta. They've gotten the Advance of Zeta bug out of the way. They're moving on to G-Unit. I'm not complaining at all because I love these designs, and it's so cool they're getting an update after all these years. Now, unfortunately, these are brand new mold P Bandai kits, but that's kind of a bit of a norm nowadays. I feel like people have kind of gotten used to that now. But because these are technically Wing, I wouldn't be surprised if Bluefin decides to pick them up for US distribution. Now, this doesn't come with any of the add-on parts as far as I can tell, so there's no like flight parts or space parts like the robot Damashi came with, but you do still get a basic rifle and shield. So I did already mention that we're getting the rest of the G-Unit kits, but not only do we have the knowledge that we'll be getting all of them at some point, we also have a little teaser image of the Geminass Unit 2. Seeing as it's just a straight recolor of the Unit 1, it's really not a surprise that this is the second kit they're going to go for. But anyways guys, that's going to do it for Gunpla News today. Sorry I didn't get this out earlier, but there wasn't really a whole lot I could do about it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. There definitely was a lot of really cool stuff we talked about today. If you want to see more Gunpla news, reviews, and other Gundam and Gunpla related content, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to show our sponsor NewType some love, and as always, I'm your host, Second Soundwave, and I'll see you next time. Take care, guys.